use it a lot of time in reading, right? Evidence. When else might you use it?
You might use it when you pass something. You might use it when you act like you're in a mystery.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Good. So we use evidence a lot. We can use it in science. We can use it in writing. We can use it in reading. We can use it everywhere. Today we're going to do a little fun activity where we're going to work on, we're going to try and figure out this murder mystery. So right now, this is going to help us later on, so I'd like you to look up at the board and write down a definition of evidence. So this might help you. If you have a better explanation that you want to write down, that's fine. This says concrete evidence to prove our point. It's right in front of our eyes. Evidence is, it's right in front of our eyes, and we can use it to prove our point. When you're ready, if you could just look up so I know that you finished. So who's ready? Put your hand up if you're ready. Okay. You have about 10, 20 more seconds. Also, today we're going to be looking at rule. What's a rule? Give me an example of a rule.
Like a finger.
Can you give one example?
Or no fighting.
Good. So those are rules. Perfect. So today we're going to focus on rules, how it's going to help us with solving a murder mystery. So as a rule, people usually, when they leave their house, they go and lock the door. As a rule, we usually shut our windows when it's cold outside. Those are different types of rules of things that we know that we do and that people around us do. Now, conclusion. What's a conclusion? What do you do in reading and science?
When we do writing, we got beginning, middle, and have a conclusion sentence.
Perfect. Yes. And what does your conclusion consist of? What does it have in it? How do you make your conclusion? What do you take from? Your beginning,
Middle, and end.
And your conclusion, you kind of sum it all up and give a explanation for something, right? So for this murder mystery, we're going to do a conclusion, what you can say about the situation based on your evidence, based on the things that are right in front of your eyes, and based on general rules of you shouldn't fight in school, or normally people lock the doors when they leave their house. Okay, so now, what we're going to work on, this is about a lady named Queenie. Two new volunteers. Thank you. We are going to be investigators. What are investigators?
Like solve a crime.
Perfect. Yes, someone that solves a crime. So we're, as a class, we're going to be investigators today, and we're going to try and figure out how, if this lady murdered her husband, or if she didn't. And we're going to use our evidence, and we're going to use rules, and what are we going to make?
Conclusion.
Perfect job. Evidence, rules, make a conclusion. So I'm going to read it to you once, and everyone's going to listen, and then we're going to read it one more time to look for pieces of evidence. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Slip or trip, accident or crime. At 5 feet 6 and 110 pounds, Queenie Bullpies was a sight to behold and to clasp when she tore out of the house after a tip with her husband Arthur. She went to the country club where there was a party going on. What's a tip?
Like a pipe or
Good. I'm so impressed with you, everyone here. This is awesome. So she got into a fight with her husband, and then where did she go? Yes. And what did she do there? She partied. She left the club shortly before 1 in the morning and invited a few friends to follow her home and have one more drink. They got to the Bullpies' house about 10 minutes after Queenie, who met them at the door and said, "Something terrible happened." Arthur slipped and fell on the stairs. He was coming for another drink. He still had the glass in his hand, and I think he's dead. Oh my gosh, what shall I do? The autopsy conducted later that Arthur died from a wound on the head and confirmed that he had been drunk. What's an autopsy? You ever heard of an autopsy before? It has to do with crime. You're on the right track. You want to expand on that? Go ahead. You're all on the right track. You're like right here. It has to do with murder.
the picture of someone who's been killed.
You're almost there. Almost there. Picture someone who's been killed. An autopsy goes and it investigates of how a person, their cause of death, how they died, to see if it was a murder or if it was an accident, if they had something going on in their bodies. So, right now, what I want you to do is think about these three things: evidence, or two things, evidence and rule. So, right now, I want you to, as I read, again, I want you to look at evidence. So, I want you to go through and try to underline anything that you see as possible evidence of why or how she might have killed him. Okay? And pay attention to the pictures. All right, I'm going to read it one more time and then we'll look at the picture again, okay? Actually, does anyone else want to read? Okay, you can start and then you can, okay?
At 5 feet 6 and 110 pounds, Queenie
Bullpies.
was a sight to behold and to play. When she tore out the house after a tip for her husband Arthur, she went to the country club where there was a party going on. She left the party shortly before 1 in the morning and invited a few friends to follow her home and have one more drink. They got to the Bullpies' house about 10 minutes after Queenie, who met them at the door, said something terrible happened. Arthur slipped and fell on the stairs. She was coming down for another drink. He still had the glass in his hand. And I think he's dead. Oh my God, what shall I do?
Why is that funny? What's funny about it? What else? 10 minutes went by. My husband, I think he's dead. I don't know. What should I do? What do you normally do? Yeah. Keep going.
So all of us conducted later concluded that Arthur died from a wound in the head and confirmed that he
Good. So it doesn't say, what doesn't it say about it? Died from a wound on the head. Did it say that he did it to himself or that she did it?
No.
So let's look at the picture right here. And can you do me a favor and just take the staple and just go like this so we can look at the picture and then look at the chart? Look at the picture and then we're going to look at the chart. So, let me see. Who has neat handwriting that would want to work on? We'll take turns. I love how many volunteers I have, though. And you can go, and then you'll do a couple of them. Okay? You come up here and make a chart, and it say evidence, rules, and conclusions. You can use this chart too. Here, as an example. Okay? So, I saw some people going around and underlining some pieces of evidence. What did you underline? Yes, you did. What did you underline? Perfect. Good. After a fight with their husband. Good. I like how everyone underlined tip. What else did you? Whoa. This is a good one. Can you explain this? Uh-huh. Why did you underline that? What did you say? Okay. What's your name again? So Mira said that the glass might have made him fall down the steps. Hugh thinks that, let's look at the picture. Look at the glass. He fell and he's perfectly like laying on the ground with his feet up and his, what's funny about the glass right there?
It looked like it had been placed in his hand because it would have broken if he fell down the steps.
All stars in here, I'll tell you what. It looked like it was just placed in his hand. Normally, if you were to fall down the steps, do you think you would still be able to hold a glass?
No.
Don't you think it would break? Or you would try and like grab onto something so you didn't fall? Yeah. So, yes, we have some future crime scene investigators in here. You're so good at looking at details. So, one of the things that we're going to put down here, evidence. What's one piece of evidence that we have? Perfect. So, right, a tip with her husband. Now, what's a rule? What could we say? As a rule, people who get in fights. Good. Yes. Mm-hmm. They could want revenge. Does everyone know what revenge means? To get what? Yeah. So impressive, all of you. So what's the rule? As a rule, or sometimes people like to get revenge. Mm-hmm. Can you write that as a rule? So what you can do right now is you can be writing them down also on your chart. We're going to do some of these as a class, and then we're going to try and do these on our own. The rest of them. We're going to do 2 together. let's look at the picture again when you're finished writing stuff down. Let's be investigators. Let's look at the picture. What's going on in the picture? We found out about the glass. We want to think of other pieces of evidence that we could use. What's going on in the picture? Who haven't I heard from yet? Yes. That's good.
Yeah, and they're engaging.
That he. Oh, okay. So you think that when he wasn't looking, she hit him in the head and. Oh, okay. 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 What do you think? Okay. At the top, like all the way up here? Okay. Absolutely. So the carpet would have been all messy right here. There might have been, think about it, if you were falling down the steps, don't you think you would try to grab at anything, like a banister or these little pieces of wood right here? And so they might be broken.
Yeah.
Think about when you, let's think about this too. If you were to fall down the stairs, is this a normal position for a person falling down the steps?
No.
How would it normally happen? Mm-hmm. So this is kind of an odd position for him. It looks like he just went like that. Like that looks kind of weird, doesn't it? What do you notice about the kitchen though? What's going on in the kitchen? She's cooking, right? Or someone's cooking. If the husband were to be cooking, do you think he'd be walking back upstairs? Do you think the cooking happened before or after? Before. Who thinks before? Raise your hand. Who thinks after? Why do you think after?
After, because she had went on the floor.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's think of one more piece of evidence. Arthur's clothes were all neat. That's going to be our piece of evidence. His clothes are all neat. So can we write that here? Oh, yes. Very observant. What would normally happen if you were to fall down the steps? Do you think your clothes would still be perfect and neat? What do you think would happen? Mm-hmm. Can you say that to the rest of the class?
The clothes.
You should all be listening. His clothes would what? Good. Did everyone hear? So as a rule, his clothes would be all messed up. Yes, perfect. Yes, that's another thing. Everything that's on the stairwell or on the staircase, everything seems pretty perfect and neat. So if you were falling down the steps, you would think like you'd be trying to grab at anything, hitting anything, and everything would be breaking around you and getting all messed up.
I think he was placed there.
Well, let's just try to think about Queenie right now. That's a very good imagination of what could have happened, but let's try to think of if it was Queenie. Do you think he was planning on going to the country club with her? Before the fight, do you think? Your hand was up.
I think
Why? Because she started cooking after that? I like all your observations. Good. You might have? Mm-hmm. You think, yeah, if someone fell, you think that they would hurt themselves. Yeah, exactly. You guys are so great. So what we're gonna do right now is does everyone feel comfortable with what we've done so far with 2 pieces of evidence and then a rule?
Yeah.
So what are our 2 pieces of evidence? She got into a tip with her husband.